15 years ago, I suffered a dive-related spine injury that left me crippled and to the brink of just committing suicide because I couldn't handle the pain. Fast forward 15 years and about 15,000 hours of meditation later, I have the same kind of injury. And a friend of mine recently asked me, how do you experience it differently now compared to then? The difference is like night and day, but it's not what you think it is. I only do one kind of meditation, then that is observing distortion. In Buddhism, this is called dukkha, or even worsely translated into suffering. What this is that you have reality, and then you have reality as you want it to be, and the thing happening here in between. This is the distortion, this is the suffering. An example that I often give is that if you go into your shower and you put your hand, you take a shower and you're done, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get out. And you put your hand on the lever where you go from cold to hot, and you prepare to do it all the way to the cold. And you just put your hand there, you'll feel your body going like this. Oh, this is gonna be so cold, I can't do it. But you still don't do it. You just feel, you can even start feeling the tension, but don't do it. Just feel that distortion, that pushing, this aversion towards what hasn't even happened yet, but something that's gonna happen in the future, and you're already suffering from this. If you can observe this and separate it, you'll notice that when you have the cold water and you actually do turn it over to cold, most people just go, like, this is so cold, it's so cold. But if you would take away the pushing, the distortion, you would say, hey, it's just cold up here. Down here, you haven't even gotten any cold water yet because it has time to get warm once it passes over your body. Pain has two parts. It has the distortion and it has the physical pain. The physical pain is just there. That's not really what we do in meditation. What we do is we separate and we let go of this aversion, and we realize that the pain is much, much less because you don't have to deal with the suffering or the distortion, the pushing against it. You just have to deal with the physical pain. So the first time I had a herniated disc, I had all these thoughts running in my mind, like, what is my life going to be like? And this is so terrible. And I kept tensing up and I was pushing against it. It's not fair. Like, my life is ruined. I can't live. I can't go on. I can't live like this. And I couldn't do anything. I was just lying in bed. This time around, the first week was insanely painful. My wife, who has had 2 of our children, was saying, like, well, this seems worse than bearing kids almost, because it just never stopped. It was constantly going on. I would have a conversation or try to have a conversation, but I couldn't because there was someone jabbing a knife into my back, and I was trying to listen to something or look at something, and it was the whole reality around me was just like tilted or shifted or distorted because it was very difficult to focus and experience reality because of all this incredibly intense pain. Since I don't have to deal with all this, like, this distortion, I shouldn't say don't have to deal with it, because I still have distortion. I'm not completely free from distortion. There is still distortion, but it's so little that it's very easy to deal with. Then this time around, it's been a lot easier. Sure, I've been having a hard time, and it's been difficult to stay positive and not go, like, when my daughter comes up and wants to play and she starts screaming and jumping and then like, just be quiet. It's very easy to just lash out at people because you're experiencing this incredibly difficult situation inside of you. But unfortunately, pain is still pain. The physical pain is not something you can get rid of. It's always going to be there. Taking away this part makes all the difference, and it makes life so much easier. This is why in many countries they actually prescribe mindfulness meditation for chronic pain, because chronic pain is usually not that super intense. It's just constant. It's always there. Whatever you do, whatever you're trying to experience, you're constantly in pain, and that just wears people down. It makes you so tired. It makes you so sad, and it's so easy to lash out and like spew this negativity to the world around you. And I'd also like to separate also, we're not talking about positive thinking. Positive thinking would be saying, oh, this is not so bad because I know it's going to pass, so I don't have to feel bad about this and I don't have to have distortion. That is positive thinking. That's not actually, well, that can be useful, but as soon as you stop doing the positive thinking, then it's going to come back again, because then it's pain and you forget about it. But if you learn to observe and fully allow yourself to feel, what does it feel like to be What does it feel like to have the thoughts that I'm going to be a cripple for the rest of my life, or I'm going to live with this for the rest of my life, and feel the distortion and not push against that? Now that is scary, because then you come to the part of like, who would I be if I would think this is okay, if I would not push against this? You would basically be giving up your sense of self, because the sense of self doesn't want this, so I want to push it away. The way that most people get this wrong is that meditation doesn't make your pain go down from, if your pain is a 9, it will go down to a 6. What happens is you learn to separate pain and see that there's two parts. There's the physical pain, and then there's this distortion part, which is something you can take away. This is the suffering. This is something you can learn quite easily to observe, and when you start observing it, you can also see that you can let go of it. I'm not saying this is easy. Remember, I've done a crap load of meditation, and I've spent an insane amount of time observing my mind, trying to understand how this stuff works. So it's not like I just opened my eyes and thought, oh, well, this is easy, I just stopped feeling bad. That's not how it works. You have to go through the distortion. You have to experience the distortion. You don't take it away through some kind of belief about how reality is going to be better, or no, you experience all of this, and then it's like a complete acceptance of reality. And when you completely accept it, then the distortion disappears. You're still going to have the physical pain. That we can't really do anything about. And this would be the same if you look at other things. If you are single and you feel bad about being single because you want to be with someone else, you can take away the distortion and the fear about being single, but you're still not going to have a partner just because you took away the suffering part of not having a partner. You would just be happy without a partner. And then ironically, you'd probably be much more likely to get a partner if you were happy. Same thing with being ill. I've seen that if you're ill and you don't have all this distortion, I think the body has a much easier time of healing itself, because you're not walking around like this. You're much more relaxed. If you ever had any kind of experience with pain, and in combination with meditation, I would love to hear how you experience it. And then if you can see the correlation that I make between pain and the distortion, and how that can be helpful to separate.